What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, where we're going to be breaking down everything that we think is going to be happening at NXT No Mercy coming up this Sunday night. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, joined as always by Robert E. Felice.
Say his name and he appears. Why is that the main event? Why is that the main event?
Because they love him in London.
Paris and Tokyo.
We have 6 matches to talk about here, and we are going to forego the traditional, what matches do you think they're going to add to the card thing? Because they're probably not.
Yeah.
They recorded this episode of tonight's episode of NXT that just ended about an hour ago in advance, and they didn't add anything at all to the card that we didn't know from that pre-taped set of recordings. So no backstage segment where they were like, and then on the pre-show it's so-and-so versus so-and-so, and I'm fine with it. I am kind of thinking that, of course, there is still time that they might do something like that. We might get an announcement like on Twitter on Sunday or something, but the fact that this is already Wednesday night or Tuesday night's already gone, and they didn't, means to me 6 matches on the card, more than likely we're probably not going to get anything. And
I mean, 6 is one too many for a WWE main roster show.
In some cases, they might not have to put that 6th match on the 19-hour long pre-show or something. They will have a pre-show on this though, but as far as I'm aware, the pre-show is not anything extravagantly long. So
it'll be like Peter Rosenberg and someone talking about the card.
Megan Moran or
or Sarah Schreiber.
Some in-studio Stanford thing. And
I mean, they might go to Denver.
Maybe, but I got a feeling that they probably won't ship anybody out there that they don't need to. I think that we figured the pre-show from Bash in Berlin it starts at 11, I believe, at 11 o'clock. Let me double check about that. 11 a.m. And then the show itself starts at 1.
Why? I'm not going to complain though. It's a lot easier to deal with when it starts at 11 and not at 8 o'clock at night. So go for it, Bash in Berlin.
It's easier and it's harder. I like being done earlier, but I don't like starting earlier. The point is, I don't want to do the work.
I think, thinking about All In, it made it a lot easier.
All In, of course, we knew that's that lasts longer too.
Things hit better because it wasn't midnight. Things hit a lot more fun than they would have if it was 11:30 and you're like, there's still 3 matches to go. So I give credit for that. Maybe Bash in Berlin will be the same, but also
and I'm assuming that it's going to end quite a bit earlier than All In did, because All In started at 1 o'clock too, right?
Yeah. And that ended at 5:30, 5 maybe?
Something along those lines. But I can't picture Bash in Berlin going 4 hours.
I can picture going 3.
Yeah, I think it's going to end around 4. But this isn't Bash in Berlin. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
No Mercy.
No Mercy is going to start at the countdown's at 6 p.m. Eastern, and it starts at 7 p.m.
Oh, that's sexy. It'll be over at 9:30. That's fantastic.
Around 10 o'clock, and
that's great.
That's going to be one less, it's not starting at 8 and all like that for anybody along those lines. Of course, time zones are, finicky wherever they are. And then there's people right now that, I don't know if you're listening to this and you're from another country where you're going to be like, oh no, man, that means that it's going to start at 2 o'clock in the morning or something. But them's the breaks whenever that happens. I was talking to one of my one of the guys that works in the building here. And he was like, "You ready for Bash in Berlin?" Oh man, sometimes I have to wake my girlfriend up, and she's like, because I said I remember it's in the afternoon, it's not at night, and he's like, I might have to watch it at night, all this and stuff, and I was like, Yeah, not only does my wife not necessarily care, but she certainly would not wake up early for a pay-per-view, like when they have like in Australia and it's like, oh, I got to start doing this 3 a.m. or something. Like the response that Carolina gives me is usually, good luck with that. Like,
Yeah,
I don't blame her.
For example, Chamber, when they did the
Chamber,
Australia thing, like I couldn't stay awake to save my life. I missed 90% of it because I just couldn't do it. But that's all the more reason why I'm just genuinely excited now that like No Mercy will be earlier. Because as I've mentioned on this podcast several times over the last few weeks, NXT is my favorite show. NXT is very aware of what it is. You know, the characters are on point. And I like everything about this brand, except for what I mentioned at the top of this podcast. I'm not liking the main event scene. And I feel like in a few years this won't feel as special as it does right now. You know, it'll be like, that was a weird, fun flash in the pan, but the real moving forward of NXT was something else. And that's not, I feel like I'm crapping on Hendry, but like, it's a weird vibe, isn't it? Like,
see, I kind of approach it from a different perspective. I think that that's arguably the only interesting match, and mostly because it is a TNA guy. And I'm hoping that, you know, in the future when we talk about this as like the TNA NXT talent exchange era or whatever this is going to be called in retrospect, that it just ends with, and then they bought TNA.
Oh, that's got to be somewhere in the atmosphere of this whole thing, right? Like,
Hopefully.
I'm not gonna say hopefully.
I'm gonna say hopefully. Urge to merge, damn it.
Yeah, I understand that, but I guess my thing with this is, I like Hendry. He's very entertaining. Before the bell rings, when the bell rings in this particular match, it's two dudes who are great at what they do, but I don't get that same future focus that I get with literally everything else on this card.
There is still a little bit of that NXT 2.0 hangover, and then it hasn't gone back to the black and gold or anything, so it's trying to find itself in some ways. But I look at this card and I just go, all right, I know why you're doing XYZ, but I don't feel like that's a pay-per-view, and I don't necessarily feel like that's a pay-per-view that I would be like super gung-ho, oh my god, I can't wait for it, even if I think that the matches might be okay. And I also, I'm going to crap on this, like it sounds like I'm crapping on it. I also don't think any of these matches are going to be particularly great. I think that there's potential for all of them, but I don't think that any of them are going to stand out whatsoever. I think that this is going to be one of the most flat pay-per-views that we've had in a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, luckily for you, you're not super gung-ho. You're Tony Mango.
That's true.
And I think it will be. See, I feel different, the complete opposite from you in that way, where I think the matches will be fun. Like, no matter what, basically, I could watch any wrestling at all right now and go, no, the match will be great. Because they just all are now. We're very spoiled in that sense. But I'd feel a little better if the situation at the top of the card was a little more exciting. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like I guess we can start here. This is a good place to start. It's the one match I know on the card that has no championship attached to it, but it does have TNA versus NXT. It's Wesley against Zachary Wentz. It's very exciting to me. They're gonna flip, and it's gonna be fun. Like, these two dudes are the best of friends outside the ring. They brought in some real, like, real life stuff here. They're able to use the footage of Wesley freaking out 2 years ago when he's trying to call Zach after Zach got released, which I liked just because I remember the lack of follow through there sucked. So I'm really excited here, except for the fact that I don't like that Wesley's doing some weird. Well, I'm a WWE superstar, and you're a TNA wrestler. Like that feels that's very Vince era to me.
By the way, for anybody that's like trying to call this like merger, I've seen that's the thing. I've seen people type out TNXT, and I'm like, it's so blatantly obvious it's NXTNA. You
I've
dipshit.
never seen anyone talk about TNXT.
I kept seeing that the other day, and I was like, who fucking like?
Who does that?
What kind of an idiot is going with that acronym instead? Like NXT doesn't stand for anything, but it's the flow of it's off. If you go TNXT, it doesn't include it's just dead wrong, and you should be ashamed, and you bring dishonor to your family. But
this is a podcast, by the way. What the?
That's one of those 11, 12 podcasts, you know.
I love when it's like, okay, we're gonna go off the rails here a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, TNXT is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's NXTNA, and it's not my favorite angle to have the WWE superstar versus the TNA wrestler thing, but I do kind of like that they at least addressed it in some fashion to be like this air of superiority of like, no, I kept my job in the better company, and you're just a reject that can only wrestle in TNA, which is funny because it's like they're currently doing this partnership with TNA, and it's like everybody knows NXT's getting more out of this for just like a few like pure like fun random little pop moment here and there thing and talent scouting than TNA is getting, because TNA, yeah, sure, they get some people to pop up on their show, their ratings go up a little bit. This isn't saving TNA. And
yes,
to be like, okay, you're gonna have a feud about how like, well, you're just a TNA guy. It's like WWE sitting there going, we need to remind everybody though that like you're the minor leagues. You know?
Well, yes and no, because they're sending their partner. NXT's getting a lot out of it. They're getting to send their fucking talent places. You know, like they're getting to give Riley Osborne reps because he's going to be in an Ultimate X match on Friday. They're getting to send Tavion Heights to Noah, and he's doing fucking tremendous. And they're getting the main event of their program because Joe Hendry is a contracted TNA wrestler, even though he doesn't feel like it right now. Feels very much like an NXT superstar. But no, I think this match is going to be great. I think they're going to flip. They're going to have fun. I don't want to see Trey Miguel here. I know that he's the third rascal, but like this feels like an NXT angle because of what happened 2 years ago, and I just want to see it conclude, and I think Wes has to win.
If he does pop up, he being Trey Miguel, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, oh, is he going to like help Wesley even though it wouldn't make any sense? Or is this going to be something where he costs Wesley so that way Zach Wentz doesn't look all that bad? And unless their game plan is to continue to do something going forward with this, then I don't want to see him either. I think that this should just be a one and done. They flip around, Zach Wentz loses, Wesley gets a bigger head about himself to be like, you see, I proved that I am this amazing talent, and I do have all the skills to be, you know, top champion in the future, and blah, blah, blah. And then you move on to him being one of the potential challengers for... Actually, what would he challenge? Because Hova Femi and Ethan Page are both heels, and he already had the Hova Femi feud, so...
Well, it doesn't matter. It'll be for the World Championship or the NXT World Championship. And
maybe like at the next pay-per-view, there's like a triple threat or a four-way or something, and he's involved in that. I don't know, but the future of where they can go from here, in my mind, you have to give it to Wesley. If you give it to Zach Wentz, then you're just stalling to come back around to give Wesley the big push at the end of it anyway. And I don't think that this is a feud that needs to go on for all that time. I think that you can do a one and done.
By the way, Zach Wentz also in a Ultimate X match this Friday at TNA Emergence. I expect to see Wesley cost him the X Division title.
That would make a lot of sense.
Or if we were fun and cool, Zach Wentz would win the X Division title, and then there's another championship.
And then now the title's on the line.
Yeah, like
that would be cool.
That'd be fucking cool.
If you want to change something for the pay-per-view, I would be totally down for them just making this an X Division title match, and then that gives Zach Wentz something more to be like, okay, well, maybe he is going to win instead of it being too obvious that he won't. And yeah, I mean, I'd be down for that. I'm assuming that he's not going to, though, of course. But the match will be fun. I'm sure that they've had some ideas that they've been bouncing around for a long time. The chemistry is probably going to be really well. I'm looking forward to that match more than I'm looking forward to a lot of other things in the card. But I still kind of look at it and go, all right, well, that's a level above a lot of the other things, not just because it's Wesley. I'm not trying to do that. But I still am just like, okay, that deserves to be on the card. Still not crazy. Maybe everybody listening's crazy about this. Of course, we always want to know what you have to say, so drop your thoughts in the comments below. When you do that, remember, hit the like button on this video. Double check that you are subscribed on YouTube. Ring that little notification bell for all of our live content that we have coming up this weekend. We're going to have 2 Pay-Per-Viewpoint post shows, so keep that in mind. Redbubble and TeePublic is where you can get your merchandise. Help us out on the monetary side of things. Same as with the Patreon and the YouTube channel membership, or the thanks button. Same as the super chats. All little bits help out quite a bit. Also keep in mind the Discord server that we have if you want to chat it up about anything during the week. Get those plugs out of the way. But I'm going to go Wesley winning this, and I think it is going to be a one and done. I actually think Wesley is not only going to win this, but he's going to start feuding with Trick Williams afterward.
Well, he's got a little ways to go, but he does want to be in that World Championship picture, so I could see him finding his way to Trick very soon. But one of my favorite NXT superstars, Tony, is on this card, and that's Kelani Jordan facing Wendy Choo for the Women's NXT North American title. And they've never explained why Wendy Choo's a demon, right?
I'm assuming she just woke up from a really bad nap, really bad nightmare.
We should stop this podcast right now because you were supposed to say on the wrong side of the bed, you loser. Do it again.
Anybody that donated, take it back. You know. Yeah. No, I like a lot of what this Wendy Choo gimmick has turned into, in a sense of like, there is no way that if I were to have joined the WWE writing team and I joined after Wendy Choo became a character, just the original incarnation of this, there is absolutely no way I wouldn't have pitched she needs to turn heel and it needs to be like the nightmare version of her. Absolutely would have. So I like that they do that kind of stuff because that's a fun way to like play around with characters, and characters are the thing that I find most important with like anything. I mean, we talk about it all the time with like the AEW stuff where I'm like, yeah, the matches are fine, but like I don't care about the characters, so I can't get invested. Wendy Choo's character right now has so many things going forward that I really like. I just don't like how they are completely non-committal. Like she is and isn't teaming up with Tatum Paxley, going after this North American title. Tatum, I guess, is just out of the mix now, even though she was supposed to be the one that was like totally obsessed with championships. Wendy Choo apparently is friends with Rosemary. Just for the sake of it.
Well, they're demons.
Is it supposed to be like that they all hang out in the same living quarters or something?
Well, honest to God, Rosemary's got the key to all of this. Because she's got the undead realm. So she can just be like, "Yep, Wendy Choo fell through in the undead realm and came out looking like a sleep paralysis demon." Still my favorite headline I've ever done. Honestly, I like it. I like Kelani. Kelani, I think, has got tremendous upside of almost any woman on the NXT roster.
Definitely somebody to continue to invest in, that we will see some good stuff in the future for sure.
I would love to see Wendy Choo win something, especially because she would have went on a hell of a run as Mei Ying. I'm the only one who cares about Mei Ying, but damn it, all I do. And I would love to see her win something, but not right now because nobody does it like Lani. And Lani's going to win and retain the NXT North American title.
I assume she's going to win as well. I would be totally fine with Wendy Choo winning this championship and then trying to see what they could do going forward with that. But if they're going to book Roxanne Perez to be fighting heels, and we need to kind of play around with, like, you know, we know that the two main women that are coming into the company pretty soon are going to be gunning for her. Then if we had Wendy Choo as champion, we're going to run out of baby faces pretty fast. So Lani, to me, right now, I don't think I have this written down on the website. I'll have to double check about this. And if I don't, I'm going to have to change it by the time we get around to it. I think that there are two main people that have a much better chance of dethroning her than Wendy Choo. Felani Jordan. I was just going to say Fallon Henley. You know, part of flatulence. Did I say that on the air?
You did say it on the air. It's like, where are you getting flatulence from? Fatal Influence.
Yeah, fatal influence, just flatulence. Yeah. I think Fallon Henley's got a strong chance, but I think even more so, it's probably going to come back around to Izzy Deem.
Well, I would prefer Fallon Henley.
So would I.
But yeah, I think unfortunately Wendy has to lose here. And again, Lani's great. Definitely, if we ever get to an era where women are headlining pay-per-views again, she could be one of them on the main roster.
I think that we're going to see Kelani Jordan on the main roster, maybe in the next draft. Maybe not necessarily like, you know, as like it's a guarantee, like the way that like Braun Breaker was like, okay, there's no way he's not going to be drafted. Maybe not for Kelani, but at the same time, I would lean more towards that's probably the case. So she's going to have to lose it at some point. And I think that by the time we get around to her dropping it to somebody like an Izzy Deem, they'll have already felt like she's ready for the main roster without having to give her like that boost up to winning the NXT Women's Championship, like just straightforward. I think that one of the reasons why they put this mid-card title thing out there is to just be like, let's give them a championship, play around with it, see what happens, and then we don't have to have that one title to give them a chance. But yeah, I currently had JC Jane on there for that. So I'm going to switch that. Fallon Henley or Izzy Dame. But this was something that I put up there right after Kelani Jordan had won the title. So, yeah, different story. But I'm not super looking forward to this match in the sense about being like, well, this match is going to be so fantastic or whatever. I like Wendy Choo. I like Kelani Jordan. I'm sure it'll be fine. I just don't think it's going to be the most amazing thing ever. And that's the way that people are these days. It's like if you don't say something's 9 out of 10, then you hated it. No, it'll be fine. They'll do their job. And I can say the same thing about the NXT Tag Team Championship match. Chase University defending the titles against Axiom and Nathan Frazer. Supersonic Duo lost the belts to Rich Holland and Adrian Chase. Wow. I'm looking at Adriano Rizzo right now, right above Andre Chase on this.
Not Adrian Neville. He's over on the other channel.
Andre Chase and Rich Holland. And
but this a 77 is passing in Chase University.
That would be what, like a C+?
It's also the Neville level.
The setup with this, though, is very uninspired. Hey, remember how we beat you for the titles like a week ago? Rematch. All right, well, if they give it back to the Supersonic duo, what was the point? And that's boring and uninteresting. And if Chase University retains, so what? Why did I need to watch a rematch?
Yeah, I'm not that hard on it. Like, tag titles needed to be defended. I wish the division was a bit more stacked. Someone call the Motor City Machine Guns, please. Find out where they are. Because they're not in AEW. They're not in WWE. I need them somewhere. Maybe I need them here. And
I'd
then,
be down for it.
in which case, then yes, give it back to the Supersonic duo because they'll have a more fun match. But I'm going to guess Andre Chase University because they just won the belts. I don't like Ridge being back in school, you know?
It is a little weird. I mean, Chase U is a very weird.
Chase U is the
group.
weirdest. It's like, wait, why is there a school in the middle of NXT? What are they learning?
You know what's even weirder about it that I didn't think of until right this second? Why did we get the school faction after they had moved from Full Sail?
Because Shawn Michaels wasn't in charge. Otherwise, maybe we would have gotten it right away.
Like, wouldn't that have made more sense? It would have been like, oh, Full Sail University, Chase University is a part of, like, you know, maybe that's like part of the campus, or, you know, because maybe they don't go Chase U. Maybe they go with like the more like a frat house part of Full Sail type thing. Maybe they weren't allowed to, actually, because then it might be like you're giving off the impression that this is like Full Sail students. And then if they do anything crazy, then that's going to like reflect poorly on us or whatever. But
I don't think they thought that they were going to go full Dean Douglas on it. You know, like, I just think that they were like, oh, I got an idea. Maybe I'll be like a teacher. And then it was like, oh, well, fuck, you've got a full class now.
Where many adults are going to come in and have issues with this 19-year-old. And
Well, don't make it sound like it's weird.
Don't make it sound like it's weird. Okay, it's my problem, right?
Yeah.
For calling out what's happening.
Clearly.
It's great. This pro wrestling faction, you're going to be a school. We're going to really get into how she's getting into puberty. And
Oh,
and this is before we go to the CW. So God knows what happens when they do go to CW.
Oh, the CW is going to be so great for this show.
I wonder how many shots that they're going to need to do to fill the CW quota of standing in a hallway, walking past the person that they're talking to, and then turning around. Because that happens at least 5 times per conversation in every CW show. I started to notice that when I watched The Flash. After all the episodes of Smallville that I had watched and like Arrow and all, I was just like, wait, why are they... Every fucking scene is them walking past each other, turning around to the other person, and then the other person walks past them, and they just do that back and forth over and over and over again. It's the only type of blocking that they know.
You know, I'm so excited for the move to CW. These characters are made for this channel. Ashanti the Adonis being somebody with absolutely zero riz, and just being like, okay, Eddie Thorpe, which one's your girl? What are you talking about, man? Yeah, you're a DJ. You're only a DJ to attract women. No, I'm in it for the music. What are you talking about? No DJ's in it for the music. That's a real segment that happened on tonight's show, by the way. Tony probably didn't realize it because
I was paying so little attention that I saw that Eddie Thorpe was on the screen, and I was like, oh, I don't remember that being a part of the spoilers ahead of time, but it's Eddie Thorpe. So I'm assuming I don't need to watch it. Eddie Thorpe's character is one of my absolute least favorites. I do not like, the guy might be a talented in-ring guy. Maybe there's something they could do with him in the future and all that. I'm not going to crap on him specifically, but like this like Native American DJ thing, I couldn't give the slightest shit about the DJ stuff. Like, I liked it better even when he was just, hey, I got some Native American roots and I do this, like, I don't know what they would call it, kind of like the little like entrance that he had, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like a specific name for it, like the Siva Tau for USOs or something. But the setup that they had with that, yeah, it's not the best in the world, but like it worked for Tatanka, and you could play around with that a little bit more. It's not like that's another character on there. And then they're like, nope, DJ, and I'm like, okay, why the fuck are you a DJ in NXT? Now we're going back to the job era.
Shawn Michaels does book Shawn Michaels.
I guess we are kind of going back to the job era now that I'm looking at the roster, because if you think about it, who is on the NXT roster right now? We've got the D'Angelo family. So it's just, our job is we're gangsters. We've got the Eddie Thorpe DJ. It's almost like they imply every once in a while that Hank and Tank are like, at least I get the impression that they're like, construction worker. Actually, no. Hank Walker had started out as a security guard. So that is actually another job-based thing like that. You've got the, when we were just talking about CSU, so they are the school. I'm looking through the rest of the roster right now, trying to figure out if there's anybody else that fits the bill with this. I mean, Gallus Boy's on top. That's not really anything like that. Metaphor, no. I forgot that Saquon Sugars was a part of this. So maybe it's not everybody on the roster or anything like that, but then they do kind of stick to that. I mean, even if you go to the women's division, like CB Turner is just Ava's assistant, and Carmen Petrovic's like, I got a sword, but
if you think about it, they all do have some like defining characteristic, with the exception of maybe Carly Bright and Kendall Gray.
Oh, they don't have any defining.
They're great. Stop it. They're the next Kelly and Eve Torres. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun.
Can you tell them apart?
I can, actually. Carly Bright is the blonde one.
They're both blonde, aren't they?
I think Kendall's a little more on the brunette side.
Huh. Could have fooled me. The guy who has a website dedicated to this stuff and has a more dedicated roster page than almost any other website that's out there.
You're not as dedicated to NXT as I am, because again, this is the only show where I'm just like, it's so silly. We are in the job era, because you think about, like, you got the Chase U, and you've got Singing Man Joe Hendry, and it's like you do have so many of these gimmicks. It is kind of like New Generation era. Now that you think about it out loud, it's like, yeah, maybe it is just him booking the era that he was in, like.
And it's funny too, knowing how a lot of these things go, that like, you got to imagine that a lot of the times that this happens, people are like, tell me something about yourself. And then let's run with that and make that your whole personality. So Wendy Choo, for instance, maybe she's just like, I don't know. I mean, I like naps. Ha ha ha. And then they're like, I got it. Your character also likes naps.
Well, Hank and Tank are just like the most, they're just two lame ass, frat bros, basically.
Yeah, he dropped the whole security guard thing.
I mean, he didn't drop it. It was just, he used to work security.
Gets a job, and then he sees a guy that it's like, hey, your name rhymes with mine.
We're buds now, yeah.
You know what movie they give me a vibe that they would fit really well in? Encino Man.
I like them a lot, though. Like, again, there isn't any character on NXT that I think is a waste of time.
I think that there's a handful. There's a few people that like.
Well, I'm not going to be mean to Lexus King on this podcast. Like,
I mean, Lexus King's character is not one of my favorites, but I like him still better than some of the other ones. I could tell you way more about, like, these kind of gimmicky things. Like, yeah, I think that Thea Hale's great, for instance. But like, again, I can't tell you the difference really between Kendall Gray and Carly Bright. And if you were to ask me who Xena Sterling is, I still don't know. Layla Diggs, I still don't know. Lainey Reed, I still don't know. So granted, they were mostly on Level Up, so that's
this is what's funny to me. He can't tell the difference between Kendall Gray and Carly Bright, who have been on the television show with fair regularity, but he knows the name of like the random PC items that haven't really appeared on TV yet. I love it.
And like, what is the character of Shiloh Hill? But if you go with the people that are just on the actual like TV show, like regulars on the TV show and stuff, that's still another thing where it's like, I don't know fuck all about Dante Chen other than he's from Singapore.
All he's the first Singapore-born WWE superstar.
Is there a second all?
Second of all, he is Chentertaining. It is sports Chentertainment. He was on Impact a couple weeks ago. It was T Chen A.
Is that his gimmick?
No, that is my gimmick for him because I have fun watching NXT.
NXT is the easiest watch by far. And you know, I'm down to watch NXT when it does this kind of crazy stuff. So it's like, I'm sure I'll have more fun watching the pay-per-view than if I wasn't watching the pay-per-view. But at the same time, the pay-per-views are just the matches for the most part. And the weird parts about NXT that I enjoy the most are the TV show stuff where it's just like, of course, we're going to have Malik Blade and Idris Sanofe and Brinley Reese fucking around and doing their thing. Or like, somebody's going to get attacked in the parking lot again this week. Of course they are, because that's the most dangerous place to be, even more so than the edge of the ring apron or something. But then you get into like, okay, so then the bell's going to ring and it's going to be Nathan Frazer again and Axiom against Chase University. I don't really care. So I hope Chase U just retains and that the next champions are somebody like maybe Sean Spears and Brooks Jensen.
I would love that.
Like, that'd be kind of cool. Do that.
I'm still waiting for Thea Hale to turn on these people. They cost her the NXT championship like a year ago. And then she became a bad girl. And then she didn't.
Well, she hit the stage of, I graduated high school and I'm in college, so now I need to rebel. But she, I don't believe, has turned 21 yet. Maybe she has, maybe she hasn't. I don't remember for sure.
That's depressing.
And when she does that, then obviously she's going to go on a huge bender. And
oh, no!
She's going to learn that bad habit from Brooks Jensen. He'll have gotten sobered up and all by then. And then she'll be the next drunk on the roster. And she'll need to take some kind of like hangover pills that she'll get from Aunt Wendy Choo. And
I like the lore. The sad thing is the first half of that could absolutely totally be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, but no, I like Thea Hale. I just want her to kind of be mad at them. Like, hey, dude, they did screw you over. And remember when Andre Chase had a gambling problem?
Yeah, he got it sorted out.
I would love for addiction to work that way.
Right. I mean, it's the same kind of logic that anything is in pro wrestling. It's like, you and I feuded for 3 years and you set me on fire or whatever, but since you got my back in this match, okay. You returned after injury and we decided that you're a babyface now, so we're cool, you know?
That's so weird. Like,
this is a random pull. Did you ever used to watch any Derek comedy on YouTube?
Yeah, of course.
For anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, Donald Glover had been in a comedy troupe with a couple of his friends in college, and they were Derek Comedy on YouTube. Fucking hilarious skits. One of my favorite ones of them is Girls Are Not to Be Trusted.
What the hell, Bethany?
Yeah, what the fuck, Bethany? Bellany, right? I think it was Bellany.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah, and I fucking love when it's like, The premise of it, for anybody who doesn't know, is a guy keeps interrupting anybody else's school projects with that he interjected to be like, my girlfriend cheated on me and I'm fucking pissed at her. And eventually she reaches the point where she's like, you're not even mad at Todd anymore. You're just mad at me. And he's like, hey, me and Todd are cool now. That's what I'm just thinking of right then. Me and Todd are cool now. We get sidetracked on these NXT things, don't we? KP is another great skit. Oh man, so many Derek. I gotta watch some Derek comedy later. Donald Glover is the fucking man.
He is. He nails everything he does.
And I remember when he got casted for when he got cast for Community, I was like, oh fuck yes, Donald Glover's getting something. This is awesome. This guy's gonna be such a big thing. And of course, he proved me right.
And then he was like,
yeah. Some good songs from Childish Gambino too. So Chase U is beating Supersonic Duo.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
I think we talked like 20 minutes about this match technically.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Sure we did. But let's talk about this one because I love me some Oba Femi.
Oba Femi against Tony D'Angelo for the NXT North American Championship. And Tony D got a big spot last week where he was able to slam Oba Femi down and be like, yo, fucker, I'm a tough dude too, essentially. But he's going to lose this. Oba Femi's definitely retaining. Although, I will say this. If they want to give him a reason to leave and to go to the main roster sooner, stranger things have happened. And Tony D has won the Heritage Cup and the tag titles. He hasn't won the NXT Championship, but he came damn close to it. Maybe the North American title is going to be something where they do end up giving that to him.
I don't know.
I lean like it's 95% Oba Femi. But there have been other instances where I've been way more 100%.
I'm going to say Oba Femi wins. I'm honest to God just thinking about you've seen the old Mario cartoon, right? Like
the Captain Lou Albano thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know how he used to say pasta power? That's what I thought about when you were talking about him slamming Oba Femi, just like fucking pasta power, Tony D'Angelo over here.
We could all use a little pasta power.
But I love Oba Femi. Like, we're gonna talk in the hot tags this week about Sid, and like, Sid was an attraction guy, where really no matter where he went, he was the main event because he just had that look, and I think that's missing in wrestling. And Oba Femi can bring it back. This dude can main event anything, anywhere right now.
And he's 26.
I know he's gonna be around forever. like
this motherfucker is 26, and he's already that good. Like, he's a fun person to watch. He's got some character. He's got charisma. He is fun to, he tosses people around in the ring and all. He's huge. Whether they give him a year or two more in NXT and they end up bringing him up, whatever they end up deciding to do with him, he's going to make a big splash on the main roster. And I got a feeling he's going to get the push that we all thought Keith Lee was going to get.
So I know how I want him to lose it, and it's not to D'Angelo. He needs to slip on a banana peel and lose to Javon Evans. Because Evans is like, he's like the Flash. He's so quick. He's so explosive. He's so on point with everything he does. He's the guy who beats Femi, but it won't be like in an embarrassing way. It's like 1, 2, 3 kid style. Oh, I got him in a moonsault, and I just happened to hit him
right up.
Yeah. Like, I just happened to catch him slipping, and now I'm the NXT North American champion. But in order to do that, Femi has to win here, and I think he will.
Javon Evans, by the way, tonight it dawned on me, he is the hybrid of, if you could like take the attributes of different characters and like create a character mode or something. He is Kofi Kingston mixed with Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
And he's super young too and super
He's
talented.
20.
So
he's not even 21. They had a bit last week that he couldn't even drink with Gallus.
yeah, I thought that was nice.
That's why they fought. Like, yeah, but it'll be a fun match because I like watching Femi go to work.
I think that actually they're going to end up having a pretty good back and forth. Like their chemistry might not work, but I kind of can see it working. So Tony D, he'll put up a good challenge. Femi will retain. We'll move on to whatever is next for either of them. And I really can't see exactly what that would be quite yet, but it could be Femi against Javon Evans next. It could be Tony D moving on to a different championship. We don't have anything with the Heritage Cup happening on this card, despite the fact that that's been such a big attention point.
They're my favorite act on the show. Ren and Charlie are tremendous together.
Are they like dating or anything?
No, there's no way, but they do have great chemistry.
Because they have chemistry enough that makes it seem like there would be something there.
There could be. God knows at the Performance Center, most of what they're doing is just like wrestling and hooking up. So, more
it's very collegey, isn't it? Like, didn't they do the? I mean, that's why we have Chase U.
It's so collegey, like, by the way, I'm not the one that made that up. Like, that's just a popular thing.
It legitimately is and has been a thing for years now. As soon as they had like the Performance Center and like Full Sail and doing things like that, it's been, everybody kind of hangs. That's why one of the hot tags we're going to talk about this week is this whole report that came out about like moving the Performance Center to Las Vegas, and it was like, wait, what? And then now it's been like, kind of debunked. But it's going to be a major topic for that. But it is the case. I mean, look at Kelani Jordan talking about like, time stood still when I bumped into Carmelo Hayes and like Bianca Belair with Montez Ford being like, you got to get this man away from me. And yeah,
that's really cute. I love that. Like, I love.
And you got Javier Bernal and
Tatum Paxley. Riley Osborne and Blair Davenport just got married.
That's right.
Lash and Trick.
Yeah, Lash and Trick. Forgot about that one. Who knows if anybody from TNA is like they popped up and everybody's just like, all right, fresh meat, just jumped on top of them.
Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus.
Who believes in Joe Hendry here? Who's he clapping? I mean, you know why, right? Because it doesn't matter if it's in the Performance Center or not. They love him in London. So prestigious. I expect Femi is retaining this championship and moving on to his next person to conquer. And Tony D, he'll satisfy his wounds with some manicotti.
Is that it? Or do we just
now we have Roxanne Perez against Jaida Parker for the NXT Women's Championship. The heel match that they decided to build this week as I'm gonna beat you. No, you're not. Slap.
That was a sick slap. I don't know if they edited the sound in post.
I think that they did.
But if they did, it was tremendous. Like,
the most interesting things about me though were the sound of the slap and then the what are you doing here?
Right. The mystery, like, who was watching?
I've heard about you, I think is what Jaida Parker said.
Jaida Parker said, I've heard about you. Don't worry, you can get some too. And then Roxanne just looked like she saw a ghost. Which means maybe Cora? Julia. Maybe Steph. Maybe Delta.
I keep forgetting about Delta. That's right.
Maybe. But you let the cat out of the bag. I think it's Cora Jade. And I think Cora Jade helps
Roxanne.
Helps Roxanne win. But I think they're doing this match, and I said it last week, because I think they wanted to get it out of the way. Jaida Parker's great. They wanted to do this match and just have Roxanne clear out everybody, and then on the first, and then whenever they can get to the CW, they're gonna do Roxanne loses the belt to insert name
One
here.
of those three.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And then I can see
Well, it's
Cora.
in Chicago. Where the fuck's AJ Lee? Fight her.
Man, that would be good.
Just like fight her. What are you gonna do? It's one match.
And she didn't win the NXT championship.
No.
So give her that belt. And that doesn't screw up anything on the main roster. Doesn't take away from Tiffany Stratton's Money in the Bank or Nia Jax's title or the Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan thing.
See, these podcasts are just us scatterbrained fantasy booking.
I think most of my life at this point is fantasy booking.
Well, get some better fantasy. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
I mean, like my escapism is fantasy booking.
Okay, that's fair.
No, if I'm fantasy booking this, my God, then don't hire me if the way that 2024 has been with my fucking life. the Jaida Parker and Roxanne Perez thing wouldn't have been what I would have fantasy booked. I'm not digging it all that much. I don't think the match is going to be particularly great because I can see it playing out like this. Jaida Parker's bigger. She's got the power game. She tosses Roxanne around. Roxanne wrestles as a babyface, but we're not supposed to be cheering her. Yet Jaida Parker is not a babyface, and we're not supposed to be cheering her. So both get confused about what they're supposed to do. Move. Roxanne retains. Jaida looks upset. Roxanne looks like, kind of that like pissy little face that she makes when it's just like, ha, I beat you, whatever. And then they just move on and act like nothing happened. And I don't know. I'm not loving that idea because this isn't a match that I am personally like, okay, it doesn't matter if it's the right timing. You have to do this match and I can't wait to see it the way that I would with some other things. This is like, I would have been fine if one of them goes up to the main roster and they didn't do this match, and then we could do it in the future.
I think it'll be fun. I like a lot of what Jaida brings to the table. I like a lot of what Roxanne has already displayed, and she's definitely the face of this era of NXT. So I'm all for seeing what they can do here. And then Roxanne, we know where Roxanne's going. It's a matter of which debut are they going to call in for her, and is that the one she loses it to?
Roxanne, by the way, 22. Anybody that's been wondering about this whole age thing. That's the second to the last match to talk about here. The other one is to just circle back around to what the main event is going to be, which is Joe Hendry from TNA Wrestling up against Ethan Page for the NXT Championship with a special guest referee of Trick Williams, who is not wrestling Pete Dunne on this card, but the feud is continuing, and Pete Dunne said for some reason, I don't think you're going to make it.
Pete Dunne is going to attack Trick Williams. Josh Alexander is going to come help Ethan Page beat Joe Hendry.
Is that like, are they like teammates?
They were.
Page and Alexander?
They were. I believe they're the longest reigning tag team champions in TNA history.
Huh. That works.
They were the North. They haven't been the North because
things went south.
Yeah. Yes, the thing did go south.
All right, I made up for my wrong side of the bed.
And I think this would be a cool reunion. And it gets Josh Alexander in NXT, and it gets Joe Hendry and out for losing. And then Ethan Page can go lose the title to Trick Williams, probably. On the first NXT on the CW.
Probably. It's that, or it's Halloween Havoc. Like, we're getting title changes.
Because then Halloween Havoc can be... Honestly, it could be a Trick versus Oba. And then you just have Oba win all the belts.
Well, Halloween Havoc is happening how soon after the
October 27th.
When's the debut on?
The 1st of October.
I don't know if they'd give it to Trick and then just have him lose it again so fast.
Not much else you can do though. Like, we could put him against Brooks Jensen. Like, what are you gonna do?
Maybe that's when the Wesley match happens.
This is my whole issue with NXT right now. Is like the top of the card's a bit of a mess.
I mean, there are people like if we assume, and I am fully under this assumption, by the way, that Ethan Page is going to drop it back to Trick Williams and not lose it to. He's certainly not going to lose to Joe Hendry. It's not happening. Anybody. It would be kind of crazy if it did happen, and I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I'll say that. Joe Hendry is hot. You should strike while the iron is hot to a certain extent.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it isn't happening. And it's not like they're going to come back around and be like, oh man, you know who's coming up next? That Noam Dar match for Ethan Page is really going to be where he loses that title. It's not going to happen like that either. And I look at the roster and I go, okay, well, you can rule a lot of people out immediately just from the sense of they're not in the title hunt whatsoever. We're not going to see Tyreek Igwe or Cale Dixon or Luca Crucifino fighting for the NXT championship in the next few months.
Says you.
I highly doubt Ashanti the Adonis is going to move up to that level or whatever, but like they could play into Trick wins the title from Ethan Page either on the debut of NXT or like the second week of that, because they're trying to make the first 2 weeks a big deal. They got Orton and they got Punk. I think we're getting an NXT women's title change. I think we might get an NXT championship title change. If we don't, it'll be at Halloween Havoc. Probably going back to Trick. And then Trick doesn't have a ton of people that he can feud with, but maybe by that time we get like Cedric turns and they get a match out of that. Maybe a couple other people pop up by then. Maybe Ricky Starks is there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got to show up at some point, somewhere.
And I got to assume Wesley, I'm looking at the roster thing right now, and Wesley and Wolfgang are right together. This is like the third time today that I've just read the name next to the thing. Wesley versus Trick Williams probably will happen at some point. So they could play around a little bit into that, but I'm trying to book like far in advance. And I think who could be fighting for the NXT championship at Stand and Deliver 2025? I can't tell you anybody on this roster that to me is like in the same way that it seemed like Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams, or well, I guess technically they did Ilya Dragunov versus Tony D'Angelo. That was one of those weird things. I don't know, maybe by that time Dion Lennox is going to be like the next big thing or something.
Oh, well, he will be a big thing. I think that's definitely going to happen.
That way all the girls are going after him because he's got a big thing.
Well, I think that's the actual
brain I'm talking about. For. Get your mind out of the fucking gutter. He reads books.
Don't tell Ashanti. No, but I think Obafemi's got to be factored into the main event of Stand and Deliver if he's not on the main roster already.
It could be that. Like, that might be the best option, is that by that time, Obafemi is the guy that beats Trick Williams. And maybe he's already lost the North American title. Maybe he carries that in and it's like title for title. I don't know. But that could very well be the case.
Maybe he loses to Javon Evans by slipping on a banana peel. And then maybe he just moves on to Trick Williams.
Maybe it's not a banana peel. Maybe it happens to Halloween Havoc and he slips on
some pumpkin.
Yeah, it's like the pumpkin patch match or something like that.
Or like some ectoplasm. Maybe.
On fashion, whatever it is, Ethan Page is going to retain.
This fun podcast.
That's what the NXT pay-per-view predictions things tend to end up being.
It's just it's just you and me just dicking around.
Hey, it's midnight. Just turned over.
All right. Happy Wednesday.
Happy 28th of August. I don't fucking know.
But yeah, it'll be great. I think the show will be a lot of fun, and I'll have a lot of fun watching it, and I'll have more fun than Tony, and then I'll come back and talk about it with Tony.
And I'm expecting the pay-per-view to be fine. I don't think any of these matches. I don't think any of these matches are going to end up going on my end of the year list by any means. And I hope that that's not the case in a negative way. And if it ends up being like, it sucks so bad that it's in my worst or something like that, I just can't picture that these are going to be some barn burner type matches. But maybe I'm wrong. I always want to be wrong if I'm approaching it from that perspective. And for all I know, Wesley, Zach Wentz go out there, they tear the house down. Maybe over Femi and Tony D ends up being, a hell of a brawl, whatever it might be. But I'll be watching it as always. I'll have my live coverage up on smark.moment.com. I'll do my live coverage on eWrestling News. I'll have the post show immediately following. If Rob is available, Rob will be joining me for that. I'm sure Callum won't be because he won't even be watching the pay-per-view.
Callum will never see a single one of these matches.
Probably not.
Ever in his life.
Unless something happens in it that's weird, he'll probably see a clip about it. But that's about it.
Or like if the wrestling is really off, he'll see a clip and then he'll talk about it later.
Yeah, just read the results and then factor that into his power rankings.
I was gonna say that won't stop him from doing the power rankings, which you should check out on smark.moment.com.
I know that some people are upset that he didn't do it this week.
Oh, he didn't?
Nah.
Well, he was busy. He was a busy boy at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, he was having fun at All In, and doesn't really matter if we miss a week. I'm sure he'll go back and fucking figure it out or something. But
yeah, are you paying for this random upset viewer?
Yeah,
guy. Yeah, give us money.
I didn't see that on the Patreon. By the way, though, if you do want to support us, Patreon, as I mentioned before, and the YouTube channel membership, all that stuff is greatly, greatly appreciated. And the Darkcast for September is not sorted out yet. When we're going to do that. September is a weird month for me. Here, I'll be transparent about this. Not only is it every day weird for me lately, and I don't know what anything has in store, and every day is a fucking
winding road. Sheryl Crow.
Was Sheryl Crow that did that song?
Yeah.
Huh.
I think so. Hold on, now I might be wrong.
For some reason, I was thinking Jewel, but that doesn't make as much sense.
No, doesn't feel right.
What was Jewel's song?
Jewel is.
Was she the What If God Was One of Us? Was that her?
No. Jewel, I feel like.
Why do I keep wanting to attribute all these songs to Jewel?
I don't know. Jewel listed at a very. Every Day's Winding Road is Sheryl Crow. Now I'm gonna look up what Jewel did.
You were meant for me.
You were meant for me.
I was meant for you.
Yeah, that's Jewel.
Oh, and she was the Who Will Save Your Soul. That's what I'm thinking of the other one, which is not the same song in any fashion whatsoever. I'm just very nostalgic. But yeah, the every day is a winding road, and every day is different and stuff. But as far as scheduling goes and planning out stuff for the year, every single day is completely up in the air at this point in my life. But October, I'm going to be in Brazil for a good portion of it, so we're going to have to record some stuff in advance. And then I know that November and December, there's some stuff that can potentially get in the way of some other things and all. September is the month that right now is looking like it's the easiest for me to kind of play around with some ideas and kind of knock out some Darkcast type material and all. And we do tend to have blank weeks in September for a good portion of it. So if anybody has these ideas that they want us to take care of that they're not necessarily joining the Pick Your Poison tier for, because of course, if you do the Pick Your Poison tier, it's going to get done. That's the whole point, is you are paying for that. So I'm not going to not do it. But if you're like, man, I really hope that you guys by the end of the year can get around to doing XYZ, pitch it now so that we can have some time to figure that out through September before we start getting hit with Bad Blood, Wrestle Dream, Crown Jewel, Full Gear, Survivor Series, all that stuff. And next thing you know, it's fucking January again.
But, that was depressing. That depressed me.
Yeah, everything's depressing these days. If you want to be depressed with us, Discord servers, another thing. And keep in mind the link tree, of course, on anthonymango.com or amangotree.com. It has all these different links for Smart Moment and Fanboys Anonymous and the Tony Mango stuff. Click on all those links. Follow me on all those places.
Yep, you can follow me over at Dude Felice. That's on Instagram. That's on Twitter. That's on Twitch. Oh, I really want to Twitch. Again, not like in real life. I do that enough. But like, I really want to stream again. Hey, if anybody out there, since Smark Moment users are probably my most loyal fan base, which is interesting in itself. If you want me to open something like a personal Patreon where maybe you pay me for, like fantasy booking ideas or something, let me know. Maybe I'll devote some time to that if the interest is there. But for now, that's it. And before we're out of here, I feel the need to remind you, Tony, that you were meant for me.
I was meant for you. Hit us with your best 90s flashback song. The He's Gone Cold and I'm wondering why. Get out of bed at all. But
that's got to be 2000, isn't it?
I feel like it's 99.
Jaida might be 2000 or 2001.
Let's see.
Now I gotta Google it.
It is 1998.
Oh, fuck out of here. No.
Great
Really?
song.
Wow.
White Flag, another great song too.
White Flag is a pretty good song.
Now I want to listen to those songs and watch these movies. And we were talking before the podcast started and eat some Salisbury steak.
Salisbury steak.
A little bit of snack talk thrown out there.
Guys, if you enjoy this, we'll all go to therapy together.
That's what the Patreon account should be. It should just be a therapy fund. In any case, that is the NXT No Mercy Pay-Per-Viewpoint prediction side of things. And that means that we not only have the Pay-Per-Viewpoint post show coming up on Sunday, but we also this week, because it is Labor Day weekend, which I forgot about entirely until I was reminded about it yesterday.
Hey, don't wear white.
Never understood that rule whatsoever.
Ever anymore. Never again.
It's like you shouldn't wear it after Labor Day. And then when should it switch back around? And why should you not wear the white after Labor Day? Some fucking farmer in like 18 whatever was just like, oh, if you do that, then the gods are mad. And it's like, all right, well, you're not that far off from praying to the sun, so shut up.
Listen, are you going to argue with Farmer Brown?
Damn right. I don't see Farmer Brown paying through our Patreon. If he's going to complain about something. That's what the almanac is. It's just the people complaining about the power rankings. Yeah, but we also have Bash in Berlin.
Yeah. Our brains are bashed in Berlin.
So Bash in Berlin, of course, is the next thing you're going to be hearing from us. The Pay-Per-Viewpoint predictions for that. We're going to record that tomorrow in 11 hours or something. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for another round of the hot tags where we will talk about the whole setup from this week of the passing of Sid and the rumor that got debunked about the Performance Center, although Russell Votes is still saying that that's probably still a thing. So, kind of.
These things don't happen overnight, which I genuinely do believe. So, yeah, we'll see where that ends up. I hope it's not true, but that's just me.
Yeah, I hope it's not true too. But that's coming up in the future. This is the end of this podcast. We want to thank you for listening. Thank you in advance for your comments in the comments below. Or I guess if you already left those comments, thank you for already doing them. And we will see you next time, everybody. This has been another Smart Out Moment, and we're being counted out.